Okay, in this tutorial I'm going to look quickly at two things, karyotypes and homologous chromosomes. So to kick us off, what you've got in front of you is a picture of all the chromosomes in a human cell. So in each one of our cells we've got 46 chromosomes, or 23 pairs. And you can see them here. Now normally in a cell they're not beautifully arranged like this. They're a little bit sort of all over the place, and some are lying over the top of others. It's a little bit sort of less clear. And what someone here has done is they've basically cut out those chromosomes and arranged them from biggest to smallest. So the largest pair of chromosomes in our cells is called chromosome number 1. And we have two versions of chromosome number 1. One that we got from our mother and one that we got from our father. Same with chromosome number 2, 3, 4, and so forth and so on. So the chromosomes are arranged from biggest to smallest in these pairs. They always have a pair. So human has 46 chromosomes, or 23 pairs. And another species, so if another species, if some other living thing has 50 chromosomes, it will have 25 pairs. So that's a pretty standard. So a normal cell has 2 of each chromosome, one from they were inherited from each parent. So this picture here, this is something you need to know. This picture here is called a karyotype. So K-A-R-Y-O-T-Y-P-E. Okay, so a karyotype. And a karyotype is simply that, a photo or a picture of chromosomes cut out and arranged essentially in order of size from largest to biggest. And you should be aware, in a karyotype, a human one should have 46 chromosomes, or 23 pairs. And each member of those pairs, one originally was inherited from our mother and one from our father. So that's pretty straightforward. A karyotype is just basically a photo of the chromosomes in our cells. So let's carry on. If we look at one of these pairs here, one of them, like we said, came from our mother. So maybe here we can highlight this one yellow. Maybe this one came from mum, and we can highlight this one maybe green. Maybe this one came from dad. And what these chromosomes are, remember we looked at a chromosome is just basically a sausage of DNA. DNA coiled up tightly, compacted into a sausage-like structure. And if we look at these chromosomes, they will have different versions of the same genes. So that's really important. If we have a gene for eye color here, so if we have the gene here for maybe blue eyes, on the same position, at the same spot on its partner chromosome here, we would have a gene maybe here for green eyes. So essentially we've got these chromosomes, these partner chromosomes are the same size, and they have different versions of genes for the same thing in the same places, and that's really important. So these chromosomes are very similar. They've got the same size and shape and the same organization of genes. They've got different versions, sometimes even the same version, but they've got genes for the same thing. For hair color, we might have the gene for eye color here, the gene for hair color here. We'll have the same thing on the partner chromosome here. So we call these chromosomes, these partner chromosomes, homologous chromosomes. Homologous chromosomes. So homologous literally just means similar. And they are very similar in the fact that similar in size and shape, but also because they have genes for the same things in the same places. So homologous chromosomes, each homologous pair, one member from each pair came from mum, one member of each pair came from dad. They have genes for the same thing, same size, same shape. That's the key thing for your homologous chromosomes. So a karyotype is a picture showing the chromosomes arranged in their homologous pairs from largest to smallest. So let's look a little bit more at these homologous pairs and this idea that there's these different versions of genes for the same thing on them. So we'll move on. Let me grab my mouse. Alright, so if we look over here, we've got a pair of homologous chromosomes. They're the same size, one coloured in green, one coloured in blue. And if we uncoil those chromosomes, you'll see that inside them they're made out of a whole long length of DNA, and each chromosome will contain, on average, sort of about 1,000 genes. So, thousands of genes spread across our chromosomes. So in this case, these two chromosomes have a gene right here, and there's another gene on this one in the same place. And if we look at the sequence of that gene, the letters in there, this gene has a sequence A, C, T, G, T, C, A, T, 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 A, C, G, T. And this gene over here on its homologous partner has a very similar sequence. The only difference is here we had A, T, 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 and here we have A, A, T, T. So one letter difference here, essentially that one T over here is turned into an A, or is an A. That's the only difference. So we've got here, even the sequences in these homologous chromosomes will be very similar. So these sequences will code for similar proteins that give us similar characteristics. And that's why the homologous chromosomes, it's all about similar. Similar chromosomes with similar genes that gives us similar proteins, which gives us a similar characteristic. And you can see here, so on this homologous chromosome, this gene codes for eye color. And on this chromosome here, its homologous partner, this gene also codes for eye color. But because the sequence is a little bit different, this sequence here actually gives us blue eyes, and this sequence here actually gives us green eyes. Now, eye color isn't actually quite so simple. It's under the control of more than one gene, but it'll work as an example. So, guys, we have genes on our homologous chromosomes in the same places, genes for the same thing, but we might have a slightly different version of those genes. So these slightly different versions of the same gene are called alleles. So when you see the word allele, I literally want you to replace mentally that word allele in your head with a version of a gene. So over here, up here, we've got a gene for eye color, and here another gene for eye color. So it's the same gene essentially, or genes for the same thing. But here we have the blue eye allele, the blue eye version of a gene, and over here we have the green eye allele, the green eye version of the gene. So that word allele just literally means a version, an alternative version of a gene. So we've got two alternative versions here as allele. And think of it a little bit like when you're talking about a car. We might both have a car, that would be like gene, we've got two copies of the genes here, but we might have a different type of car. You might have a Ferrari and I've just got a Toyota. So what we're saying there is we've got different versions of a gene. So these words can often be used in the same way. Gene and allele are often used the same way. You can still say this is a gene for blue eyes, but really what we should be saying is I guess just to try and make it clear, is we've got here a gene for eye color and another gene for eye color, but here we've got the blue eye allele, the blue eye version of the gene, and here the green eye allele, the green eye version of a gene. So if you remember this bit here, that an allele is a version, an alternative or slightly different version of the same gene, or a gene that codes for the same thing, the same characteristic, then you won't go wrong. So when you see that word allele, just substitute it with version of a gene. Cool, I hope you found that helpful.